Hey everyone, Rico Reviews here. This is probably the first video I've made in a while. I really need to get better at making videos here. This is definitely the first video in a while I've made for my I Have Autism series, and this video is going to be called I Have Autism Teachers. And I'm basically going to be talking about teachers and how they've impacted my life through elementary, junior high, and high school, whether it was positively or negatively. So in elementary school, I didn't really have, they're pretty normal elementary school teachers. Like, I didn't have a teacher that I could point out that I particularly hated or didn't like. I do remember first grade, I've always, the thing about me is I've always struggled with math, and that became very noticeable in first grade when we had to take these time tests. And I remember getting only one question right on the whole test, and I got one question right because I only knew one question, so the rest of the questions were blank, and it was 1 plus 2 equals 3. So I believe I was already in a resource room in kindergarten, so because of how I did on that test, that increased the amount of time I went to resource room. And in elementary school, um, the fact of me going to resource room wasn't really a big deal. I always thought that was kind of normal. Nobody gave me a hard time like, oh, why is she going down to this room? Why is she going here? Like, nobody really cared, I should say. And I went to resource room obviously because I was terrible in math. I just gave you that example. But also too with reading. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that is that I could understand, I basically could understand what I was reading. Like, I could read a book fine, but I couldn't understand what I was reading. So, like, if a teacher said, okay, read from pages 1 to 10, I could read those pages, but if they asked me any questions about what I just read, I I couldn't tell them. I had no idea what I had just read. So, and also too, whenever I had to take those time tests, like, I've always been a very bad test taker, so add the whole fact to this test is timed, like, that added a bit more to the test anxiety. And resource room gave me that extra time. Like, the teachers were always very good about, like, if you needed extra time, like, if you had 40 minutes to complete this test, but, like, if they noticed that most of the class wasn't finished, they'd give you an extra 5 or 10 minutes to finish up. But I often needed more time than that, so resource room in elementary school was the place where I can have that extra time and take my time for the test, because what was happening was that I was failing tests that I knew the answers to, and the reason why I was failing is because I didn't have the time to complete the test, and I knew it wasn't that I didn't know the answers. I mean, there was probably some tests where some subjects I struggled more than others, but I wasn't finishing the tests on time with everybody else. And also the fact too that I'm sure a lot of people have dealt with this, like, when you're the last person to finish a test, and then it's like basically everybody's waiting on you then to finish, and like everybody's looking at you like, come, like, the teacher, and this kind of adds to it. I don't think teachers should point out like there's one person left taking the test, so then everybody's like looking around like, who's left, who's still taking a test, so then they all look at you and they're like, come on, finish up. So then I'm also getting F's in this sense because I'm rushing to take a test because everybody's looking at me and putting that extra pressure on me. So resource room, I got to take my time with the tests, and the math was always very hard. I remember it taking me a while to learn addiction and subtraction, but once I finally got the concept of that, my resource room teacher was so proud of me. Like, the look that came over, like, I even got one of those little certificates that says Kelsey completed her addition tables, and I'm like, oh my god, I got it done. I got a little certificate, you know. It was, and like a sticker. Like, what kid doesn't love that? So that was always a very good incentive. But I remember too also struggling in third grade. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever had this, but we had to signify that if you were done, like, I think third grade is when I learned my times table. So third grade we had this thing to signify that you mastered that times table. You got a black dot on a ladybug. So when everybody's like at their 9 for 10 times tables, I'm stuck up there with just 2 and 3. So it took me forever to just get past the 3 times tables. So when I finally got to just number 4, I felt so good that I could finally put another black dot up in that ladybug. But my resource room teacher was always great. She I remember always being freakishly taller than her. Like, she was very, very short, and I remember like being in second grade and like taller than her. I'm like, wow, it's freakishly tall. But nobody, like I mentioned, nobody gave me a hard time being in the resource room. But I remember that was the moment where I started to feel different, because I always went to a resource room teacher with the same kid, and we always had regular ed classes together. Like, we were always in the same class, so we always went to walk down the resource room together. Or I don't know, she was always very good about like coming to get us from our room, but if for some reason she was running late, we walked down together. So I started to feel different when he started to have decreased time in resource room. Like, I had to go to resource room every day, and he went from every day, I believe, to only going once a week. And I remember asking my resource room teacher, why does he only have to go once a week and I have to go every day? And it's been a long time since I was in elementary school, and so I think she said something along the lines of like, everybody learns differently, everybody learns at a different pace. He doesn't necessarily need the resource room every day. You do need the resource room every day, and there's nothing wrong with that. And whereas I didn't feel like there's anything wrong with going to the resource room. It's just when I started to feel different, like, oh, I need the extra time, I need extra help. Like, I remember thinking, this isn't normal, you know. So yeah, elementary school for the most part was good. I don't really have any bad memories from there. Although there is one time I feel like this might have something to do with public speaking. No, I won't get into that. That has nothing to do with the video. But yeah, elementary school is good. It was junior high that was kind of a turning point for me. So before I get into junior high, what you need to understand is I struggled a lot in school, and I had to get not only extra help from resource room, but from tutoring. And I had a student tutor, and she was basically useless. So I think it was 4th grade, I was really struggling with a lot of the subjects. So my 3rd grade teacher actually gave me tutoring after school, and she was always very good about it. It wasn't necessarily, I mean, of course, it was mostly math, because, you know, math and me don't go together. But I don't know about you guys, but I got a lot of homework in elementary school, and she would also help cut down the workload, because I'd have about 2 hours of tutoring after school where I'd get some of the work done of her, so I wouldn't have as much to do at home, because that was another thing that was overwhelming, the amount of homework I was getting. And I struggled a lot, and 5th grade is when all the extra help and all the hard work started to pay off, because that was the first time I actually got the honor roll, and everybody was so shocked and so happy I finally got the honor roll, and I felt really good because here I'm putting in all this hard work, all this time after school and everything, and it seemed like nothing was getting accomplished, nothing was getting through. What's interesting though is that every year they always had the end of the year assembly, and they always gave out awards, and they had this thing. I don't remember exactly what it was called. I don't know if it was an honor roll award or a high honors award, but the thing was you had to get an 85 or above to receive that award. I was 1 point away, and it wasn't like I had an 84, so it wasn't like I had an 84.5 and they could round it up to an 85. No, I had like an 84.1 or just like a plain 84. So they felt bad. They wanted to round it up to give me the 85 so I can get an award for it, but they couldn't. They couldn't bend the rules. And I understood it, and looking back, it's probably best they didn't have me go up on stage because I always hated that. So then when I got to junior high, it all changed. Like, I started to struggle in school again because I lost resource room. For 3 years, I didn't have resource room, and the teachers didn't bother. Like, they knew that some kids had a harder time with certain subjects and tests, but they did nothing to help them. So my grades suffered. Like, I'd always get like a special report sent home every week to know that I failed a test or I'm failing. So it was just this dread and everything. And that is also junior high, and I think a lot of people will agree to this. Junior high and middle school is when the bullying started for me. And I was on this basketball team since 2nd grade, and I wasn't the best player, although I was very good at defense. Like, I was not afraid to wrestle a girl down to the floor to try to get the ball off her. I remember even getting fouled out at one point because I got too many fouls. Like, I was like a freaking beast when it came to defense. But yeah, like, I wasn't the best player, but I enjoyed being part of a team. The problem was the girls were making fun of me behind my back, and I believe it was 7th grade. They had already had 3 practices and a scrimmage and didn't tell me. So not only were they making fun of me behind my back, I wasn't, to them, a valuable member of their team. And looking back, this is probably where my lunchtime struggle started, and I'll get into that more when I talk about high school. But they had their own table at lunch, and they wouldn't let me sit next to them. I'm thinking, well, I'm part of your team. Like, why can't I sit next to you? Or sit at the table, at least, anyway. So there was that. And then I remember 8th grade being a real turning point because, like I mentioned earlier, I've always struggled with math. And this teacher was probably the worst teacher I ever had because she did not want anything to do with me. She did not want to help with math or do anything. Now, keep in mind, in the back of your head, I didn't have research room, so I didn't have the I shouldn't say luxury. I really shouldn't, but I didn't have the luxury to go down the resource room and take a test if I struggled with it. So I remember once where, I don't remember if it was after school or if I came during a study hall, but I came to her room to finish up an assignment, and I had run out of paper, so I had asked her, can I write on the whiteboard? And she said, yeah. So I'm up there trying to figure out the problem, and she's comes up to me and says, Kelsey, you know you don't follow directions, right? I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, what? I didn't understand because I'm trying to do the problem there. So, you don't follow directions. I'm tired of trying to explain it to you. You're obviously not listening. You don't follow directions. So she'd always yell at me and always made me feel really stupid. And I remember after the winter break, she was unusually happy. She was always a very miserable person. She came up to me and she said, do you want to be in this new math class? I'm thinking, well, I'm already in this math class. Why do I need to be in a new math class? So I was put in that math class, and I come to learn a day or two later that I was learning 3rd grade math. So I'm in 8th grade, and they put me in a 3rd grade basic math class where I'm learning my times tables and everything again. And because of that, as a direct result of that teacher's choice to put me in that class, I have always been like 4 or 5 math subjects behind the other people, and it's affected me to this day where I don't understand the algebra. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that struggle with it, but it's just that I'm so far behind in the math that even to this day I had to contact disability services at my school to get me out of the math class because of that teacher's choice. I believe it put me at an unfair disadvantage because and teachers probably get this a lot where they hear kids saying, I'm never going to need this. Why do I need to learn this? Like, for my chosen career path, I am never going to need the algebra. And because I'm so far behind in the algebra, like, that's literally the only class that's keeping me from graduating. And I thought it was unfair that I'm trying so hard and I'm so close to graduating, and the only thing keeping me from that is the math. So I have my 8th grade math teacher to thank for that. So long story short about that, they did come up with a situation to substitute my math class so I could graduate this semester. So, but yeah, that was horrible. Like, my grades suffered, and it really made me feel bad inside because here I put in all that hard work and nothing. So then I get to high school, and the thing about that was my high school is also in a small town. So all these people went to preschool with people. They went to elementary school with them, and now they're in high school. Like, they've basically known these people, have all known each other their whole lives. Like, I had just moved to this town in 9th grade, so I'm going to a new school where nobody knows me. And 9th grade, nothing really significant happened. It was pretty basic year. I will say high school was really good for me, and the teacher experience I had, like, I had really good teacher experiences. And to protect their privacy, I'm going to give them nicknames that only they so they'll know who I'm referring to, but nobody else will know who I'm referring to. So 9th grade, I had with my high school, what I liked is that you were assigned a guidance counselor, and you had that same guidance counselor all through high school, which I thought was good because then they obviously know you, they know who you are, they know how you function, what your weaknesses, your strong points are, and it's very helpful. So we'll call my counselor Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell was always very helpful. Gave me guidance, which the guidance counselor is supposed to do, but she really helped when it came to 10th grade, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I was at the guidance counselor's office so much. Like, I should have seriously gotten like a frequent flyer mile card or a frequent visitor card to there, because I was literally there almost every day, to the point where the secretaries, grew to know me. They knew who I was. Like, oh, hi, are you here to see Tinkerbell? Oh, okay. I even remember one point, I think it was Secretary's Day, and I brought them flowers in, and they were all like, that's so nice, thank you so much. But let's get into 10th grade. So 10th grade, Tinkerbell spent a very long time trying to help me with struggles I was going with in 10th grade. 10th grade is when I had a new resource room teacher. We'll call this person Sunshine. So what's interesting is that I didn't have Sunshine in 9th grade. I started in her class 10th through 12th grade. So I had her 10th through 12th grade. So I remember it took me a while to open up to her. I was just very shy and very quiet, and she knew that right off the bat, but it took me a while to open up to her. And I think what got me to open up to her was lunchtime, and I never said my lunchtime struggles out loud before, but I struggled with lunch because nobody would let me sit next to them. Like, I remember in ninth grade, I don't remember how I got through lunch in ninth grade. I may have went to the library or something. I'm not sure. But I remember going up to tables and sitting down, and what would happen is people would often, they would either get up or they would tell me, you can't sit here, you're not sitting here. So I didn't have anywhere to sit during lunch. So I actually got the idea from the movie Mean Girls, when the Lindsay Lohan character would, she didn't have anywhere to sit during lunch, so she basically ate lunch in the bathroom. And while I didn't eat lunch in the bathroom, I hid in the bathroom during lunch. And looking back, not only was it the fact that nobody would let me sit next to them, but it was also the fact that there was so many people at lunch. And there's like a section here for people who could sit at lunch and a section here. And while the tables were really big, they were very close together. So the big crowds were a trigger for the anxiety, because this is when my struggles with anxiety started. But it was also a struggle with the Asperger's too. And because there was so many people in there, it created this loud noise, and it was very overwhelming, and just made it very overwhelming to be in that room. And I remember Sunshine pulling me aside one day, and it was just me and her in the room, because she respected that I wanted privacy. I didn't want to share anything and have people listening. And I remember telling her about the lunchtime struggles that I had, and she was very sympathetic. She helped me greatly with that, because I wasn't in the lunchroom, I wasn't eating. So she always had this mini fridge in her room, and she offered me a spot where I could put something small, like a yogurt or something small, so I could eat something. And she also offered her room during lunch, because in 10th grade, anyway, the time I had lunch was, I don't know if she had, I don't think she had a class during that period, because she said I could come to her room during lunch, so I could, so I wouldn't hide in the bath. I would still miss lunch, but I wouldn't be hiding in the bathroom. But so I wasn't anxious or anything. I could be in her room, where I could calm myself down and at least eat something. But what I think was a mistake, and this isn't Sunshine I'm talking about, this is like the whole like lunchroom in general. What I think was a mistake is to force me to sit next to people. Like, I remember one instance, Miss Sunshine had my hall pass pre-signed, and I didn't necessarily need a hall pass. Like, I was always this goody two-shoes. I didn't have every single person in the faculty as a teacher, but they knew who I was, and they knew I was like a good, trustworthy student, so I didn't necessarily need a hall pass. I always had it signed, but I didn't need it. So Sunshine had already had my hall pass signed to go to her room, and I showed it to one of the lunch monitor saying, this is where I'm going, it's already signed. And she was frustrated with me. She's like, no, this is where you're going, you're gonna sit here. She grabbed me by my wrist, which I'm like, what the hell is she doing? And she made me sit next to these people, and I'm like in tears, like hysterically crying, and they're all looking at me like I'm weird. So then I go to Sunshine's room, because my what was good about the class time I had with her was it was right after lunch. So I went right to her room, and I broke down. I was like, this is what happened, I'm struggling so much with lunch. And she was very comforting. And then about a week later is the first time I actually sat in the lunchroom by myself, and I will never ever forget the look that came over her face. Like, she almost fell out of her chair when I said that I stayed in the lunchroom. She was like, Kelsey, oh my god, I'm so proud of you. Like, maybe a tear almost came to her eye, I'm not sure, but the point was, she was very, very proud of that. And I was too, to a degree, because it took me months to actually sit in the lunchroom. And Tinkerbell, gave me coping skills, like she said, like to color pages in a book, to to pass the time, or to drown out the noise, listen to music, which that was actually very helpful to actually listen to my iPod and everything. Now looking back, I guess another part of the lunchtime struggles why I was so anxious of lunch, and this may or may not have anything to do with lunch, but I was also bullied in high school, and I never told anyone about that. I was mostly bullied in my history class, and I've always been a history buff. I've always really enjoyed my history classes, but there was always this group of boys who would bully me in that class, and that class happened to be right before my lunch was. So what would happen is this group of boys would not pass me papers in class because I was the quiet girl. They would call me the R word. They'd call me ugly. I'd also get stuff thrown at me, like they'd crumble up paper so it looked like a snowball, so they'd throw them at me. I've actually gotten rulers thrown at me, and it really did a damper on my self-esteem. Like I remember writing in this journal in resource room, and Sunshine asked what this book was, and I showed it to her, and it was like this book that I am stupid, I am ugly, and she confiscated it, and she should have. She did the right thing, but it's just like, it's sad looking back. Like, that's honestly how I felt about myself, and I still feel like that to this day. But, I had pretty good, overall teacher experiences. There's only maybe, like, 2 that I can say that I had problems with, and the one wasn't so obvious at first. The one teacher had a problem with me and Sunshine and the teacher-student relationship we were having, and I think that came from jealousy. What had happened was, and I guess I'll get into the whole well, no, I could talk about the jealousy aspect now. So what would happen was, what I always thought was neat with Sunshine is she'd have me run errands for her. So whether a teacher needed a paper or she needed me to run a test down to her room, she'd have me go do that. So whenever she would have me run a test or anything down to this teacher's room, she would always try to keep me there. And what I mean is, instead of being in Sunshine's room, she would try to basically bribe me, like, here's some markers and crayons so you could stay here. And that was during my resource room time, so I was losing resource room time, and Sunshine wasn't mad at me, but she was catching on to what was going on, so she definitely did put a stop to that. I never ran errands down her room again, but this teacher in particular really made me feel stupid. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, like, I've always had problems with reading, and we'd have this time where she'd pull you aside and ask what you're reading, and I would say, this is what I'm reading. Like, I don't understand. She's like, well, how many pages have you read? And I would say, like, X amount, and she's like, you read that many pages and you still don't get what you're reading? And there's a couple instances where I felt very embarrassed and humiliated. Whenever we would finish a certain amount of reading assignments, we got a game day, and I made the mistake of saying that I knew how to play the game Clue, because me and my cousins would play Clue for hours. Like, we love that game. And she told me to then explain to the class how you play Clue. So I explained to them how you play Clue with how me and my cousins played. Apparently that's not the way you're supposed to play. And she caught on to it, and she was like, and I honestly thought the way me and my cousins played, that's how you played the game. I didn't know. So she caught on, and she's like, that's not how you play the game. You obviously didn't read the book. This is ridiculous. You didn't read the instructions. Why are you telling the wrong thing? And I felt so humiliated. I'm like, I didn't know. I haven't read the instructions in years, because this is how me and my cousins always played it. This is how I thought you were supposed to play the game. It wasn't like how sometimes kids make up their own rules for a game. Like, no, this is how we played, in the sense that this is how we thought we were supposed to play. So it was definitely, it was a misunderstanding in my part of the directions, but she didn't need to yell at me. And then here comes the jealousy thing again, because she had a problem with me going to Sunshine's room. Like I mentioned, sometimes I was too emotional to go to class, so it was understood that I could go to Sunshine's room to calm down or stay in her room if I needed to, so long as I got the work done, and I always did. And I remember one morning I was having a particularly bad morning, and she had signed my hall pass, so it said this is where I was. I wasn't just skipping classes. So I gave it to the teacher, and she's like, "This is where you were? This is ridiculous." Sorry, that's my phone ringing. This is where you were. This is ridiculous. You shouldn't be here. This is ridiculous and everything. So I said, well, this is where I was. I mean, I'm sorry. She's like, and I was at that point crying, and I'm like, and then she's like, "You're crying? This is ridiculous. You have no reason to cry." Hold on, I'm gonna write a text quick so I don't get bothered during the video again. Okay, so, and also too, I think a lot of people can agree that public speaking isn't their best thing. Like most people don't like public speaking, and I've definitely struggled with that. And one time I don't remember what the speech was, but I was struggling. Like I was shaking and everything and like skipping words, and she's like, "Why are you so nervous? You have no reason to be nervous about this. Is ridiculous. You know everybody here." I'm like, "You're not helping the situation." And because of the experience I had in that class, I chose not to take that class again in 11th grade. And I ended up taking it again in 12th grade because I had a new teacher. And I'll get into that teacher in a minute. But what was interesting about Sunshine is that her sister was also one of my teachers. And we'll call her sister Care Bear. So Care Bear helped me gain the skills I needed to, some skills that I didn't know about, but then also what would be beneficial for me in the long run. So I learned like office skills and stuff like that if I ever wanted to work in an office. But and I remember them spending a good deal of time with me asking like what I want to do in life, and a lot of high schoolers don't know what they want to do at that point, and I didn't know what to do. Like I answered questions that kind of like assess like what I may or may not be good at, and I am not in the career path that, well, wasn't chosen for me in high school, but I'm not in the career path that was recommended for me in high school. And I feel like while I did gain a lot of skills, I needed to figure out on my own what I wanted instead of having somebody tell me what to do. And I should reward it, because it's not like somebody told me like this is what you should do. There were suggestions on what I could do, but, and I legitly tried them and everything. Like I remember I had floral arranging, and I like the creative aspect of that, and that helped in a way like utilize my creativeness, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. However, I did know that I did have a passion for being creative, and I'll talk about that later. So it did help me narrow down what I wanted to do in life, and Sunshine and Care Bear became this like network of people that I could go to. Like if Sunshine wasn't there that day, I could go to Care Bear and ask a question. If I misunderstood something Care Bear said, Sunshine would take the time and explain to me. Like they were just very, very good, and I sometimes was not the easiest person to deal with, so sometimes I definitely gave them a run for their money. And it wasn't like I was a bad kid or anything, it's just that sometimes I was such an emotional basket case that it kind of affected the way my school day went, so I definitely gave them a run for their money sometimes. But they were always very great, and they're always very nice and patient. I do remember, though, 10th grade, when it got to the end of the year, I had such a good experience with Sunshine and Care Bear that I was crying that I had to go on summer break. And you're thinking, like, what kid cries that they're going on summer break? I did. So they made it so that I got to see them, each of them, once a week during the summer break, and I like that because it still kept me in a routine, but then also it helped my deepen my relationship with them. Like, I did volunteer work with them in the summer. That's mostly what we did. We did volunteer work, and so I was gaining some skills, but then I was also helping the community. But then also, too, sometimes I'd have summer reading, so me and reading don't always mix. So she would have me come to her house, and I would, which I freaking loved because I got the one-on-one time. Yeah, but she was like, would help me. She would get the book even today while I'm in college and everything, and I'm struggling with reading assignments and everything. Last semester, I was telling her, because I'm still in contact with her today, I was telling her how I was struggling with this book. She's like, well, what's the name of the book? And I told her, and she went out and got the book, and she helped me get through the assignment. And I'm like, God, she's so freaking wonderful. But I remember the first day, because I've always had a hard time making friends and everything. So I was very nervous that they wouldn't come, because we had arranged, this is the first time in the summer, so we arranged for this particular day to start the volunteer work, and I was nervous that they wouldn't show up. And they're not the type of people to say you're going to do something and then no. Basically, they're not the type that are all talk but no follow through. But I was just still had that fear that they wouldn't come. And all of a sudden, I'm like, keep looking out the door, like, are they coming? Are they coming? Like, I'm sitting in the chair waiting for them, and then all of a sudden I hear one of the volunteer workers saying, and again, I'm protecting their names, but they're like, there's Care Bear and Sunshine, and then Sunshine's like this wave, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel relieved, I feel happy. I'm like, oh my God, I could take I feel relaxed now. And that continued through the summer of junior year and senior year too. I continued to do volunteer work with them, and now we'll get into senior year. Senior year was my best year ever. And as I mentioned, like, 11th grade, I did not take the reading class anymore because of the problems I was having with the teacher. So I was very hesitant to take that class again. And I originally did not have reading on my senior year schedule. What had happened was I had originally had a class, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was work experience, and I had sat down and talked with Sunshine and Care Bear, and I said, I don't want to take this class. I'm already taking something similar to that, so I don't need it. And senior year, the privilege of that is there's a lot of spaces open, so I had a study hall and something, so I had one class left, and Tinkerbell, my counselor, had suggested, well, why don't you take reading? And also Sunshine, too, said that, and I said, no, because of the problems I had. And they said, well, this teacher's gone now. This is a new teacher. And ironically enough, the new teacher is Sunshine's best friend in real life. So I'm like, well, okay, Sunshine would never lie to me or anything. She reassured me that this person's nice and everything. Oh, you'll definitely have fun with her. And okay, I'm going to take her word for it. So I remember the first day me being very, very nervous, and I sat in the back of the room on purpose, and because I was nervous to meet the new teacher, I did not want to be around any students, and it was, which I really shouldn't have done, because all through school, because of my eyesight, I've always had to stay in the front of the room because I can't see the board. So I sat in the back, so that would have negatively affected my grades. But we went through that whole kumbaya crap where you introduce yourself, and I hate that. So, of course, I'm like, I think I was one of the first people to introduce myself. And I said my name, and she's like, "Oh, your name's Kelsey. A little birdie told me about you." I'm like, I didn't say this out loud, but I thought to myself, is that birdie named Sunshine? And I remember being so nervous to talk to her. She seemed so nice, and we'll call this new teacher Sparkle. So I was very nervous to talk to Sparkle, and I don't remember if I had resource room that day or if I had it the next day, but whatever the case was, I made it to Sunshine's room, and she asked me how my day was going on the first day of school, and I said good, and she asked me how Sparkle's class was, and I said, well, it's good. It went all right, but I was afraid to talk to her. And she said, why? And I told her I'm just nervous. And I actually came up with the idea because in the past I had written Sunshine notes on her desk. Like if she was if I needed to speak to her about something or needed to say something to her and she was too busy with another student, I would respect that, but I would like just leave her a note on her desk to say like, hey, I'm having a problem with this, or hey, I want to talk to you about this. Can we set up a time to talk or whatever? Like basically, I would just send her a note or whatever. And I said, well, do you think Sparkle might like it if I sent notes to her? And she's like, yes, that'd be a good idea. And then she said, I'm gonna call Sparkle and see if she's down. So I'm like, no. And she's like, and she called her and she said, she's down in her office. She's expecting you. Go ahead. Just be yourself. I'm like, oh my God. And her door was open. And the thing you have to know, and I remember her office being ridiculously small. Like it looked like I joked today that I'm like your Harry Potter closet of an office. So I went down to visit her, and I remember having this bubbly personality and just brought sparkle to my day, hence the name Sparkle. And she said, do you want to sit down? I'm like, no. And I said, I just wanted to give you, because I didn't know her at the time, really, so I didn't want to like sit down and have a conversation with her. So I said, hey, I have this note for you. And she said, you do? Oh my God, thank you so much. And I got like an immediate response from her, and it was like this like she really like responded to whatever I wrote in the paper. Sometimes it was just telling about my day. It wasn't necessarily like bad. Sometimes I'm just saying like this is going on. She'd be like responding, that's so great. Oh my gosh, way to go, rock star. And she was always just basically gave me that encouragement, like, I'm going to get emotional talking about this, but she's the first teacher that made me feel smart. And it's not like, and Sunshine and Care Bear have always made me, they have always made me feel special and everything. And they always gave me the attention I needed and deserved. And like, they always, like, I always would call myself stupid, and they always told me, you're not stupid, you know you're smart and everything, they were, kind of like resource room teachers. Like, Sparkle was, was in the regular ed, classroom, so she was the first teacher to actually make me feel smart in the regular ed classroom, and I definitely gave her a run for her money, because, oh my God, some of the crap I did. And again, I wasn't a bad student. Like, I never got in any trouble, but I was very emotional. And as soon as I gave Sparkle that first note, we just clicked. And literally, like, the second day, like, I was like Miss Chatterbox with her. I didn't want to chat with any of the students around me. Hell with that. It's like, Sparkle's perfect. I'd rather talk with Sparkle. And I would often, during the day, because I mentioned how I would, Oh, I don't remember if I mentioned. So with Sunshine, they tried to limit how much I saw her. So 10th and 11th grade, I had Sunshine every day. But senior year, they tried to have me in her class every other day. But oh no, me and Sunshine weren't putting up with that. No. So we came up with a way that I could see her all the time. So I always had a hard time with my locker, and it was always very noisy and crowded where the lockers were. So I had a special spot in her room where I could come in and get my stuff. And I'd come in and out of her room every class period. And it wasn't always to have like a conversation with her. Like, I would literally sometimes just go in and get my books for the next class and leave. Sometimes, you know, be a stop and chat like, hey, how you doing? Good. Okay. But yeah. So I started to see, when can I go visit Sparkle? So I'd go visit Sparkle every day, even sometimes when it wasn't my class time with her, and she was always very patient with me and so nice, let me come visit her and everything. But it's like, I got so jealous because she in my eyes was a perfect teacher, and I guess looking back, I was jealous that I don't know. I guess looking back, I was jealous because I remember her. I remember wanting her so much to like me, and I was afraid that if she got to know me, she would see the real me, and she wouldn't like me anymore. And I was afraid. She would talk with other kids, and not necessarily in class time. I mean, I was jealous with in class time, but I guess I was jealous, like, if she would talk to other kids, she would see that I'm different, and she wouldn't want anything to do with me anymore, which wasn't the case. I mean, she sometimes had to reassure me that you know, you can always come down to my room, you can always talk to me, but there are going to be times when other students need me, and she didn't say this part to me, but I had to learn to respect that other student, that she was a teacher, not just my personal teacher, which I would freaking love, but that she was a teacher and she had other students that she needed to help. And I just had the fear, and she was never, like I said, Sparkle was never like that. She's always brought Sparkle to my day, hence her name. And I was just so afraid of losing that. And, you know, we had a good teacher-student relationship, but I remember being, like, the same thing I had with Sunshine. Like, I was afraid to open up to her. And I remember one morning I skipped my first period. Well, I didn't skip it at first originally. I went to her room before school started, and I was talking with her, and that's when I started to open up to her. And it literally took the whole first period to talk with her, and that really was like, wow, she really does at that point she understood me a little bit more, and she knew exactly what I was going through. But at that point I realized that she no matter what my faults were, and everybody has their faults, nobody's perfect, but no matter what I did or didn't do, she liked me for who I was. She accepted me for who I am, and she, to this day, I feel like she's the only person I can go to. Like, I feel so, like, compared to how the first week was with her to how I am with her now, like, I'm still in contact with her and everything, and I feel like she's the only person I could talk to sometimes, because she does know everything about me, and I feel comfortable enough to be open with her, and I know she won't be judgmental and everything, and she'll give me good advice. So I was I had a hard time accepting that I was going to be graduating that year, and I hated the fact that I was going to have, and this was probably another reason why I was jealous too, because I was also jealous the fact that I only would have Sparkle for 1 year, where other students may have her for 2-3 more years. And I had such a great time in Sparkle's room. I did not want to leave. I was so unbelievably jealous that everyone else would get to have her, and I only got to have her for this short time. But oh my god, I'm gonna get teary-eyed. that time was just really was really special, and she just really not only was a good teacher, but was an amazing person, and I started to feel good about myself. And I still to this day have a problem, not a problem I shouldn't say, but I don't accept myself for who I am, and she just took the time out of her day to make me feel special and important, and I never felt like that before. And I wish I had tissues around here. They're all just wonderful, like a combination of Sparkle, Sunshine, and Care Bear. Like, they were just like the ultimate support team, and I just feel incredibly lucky. Like, I hear horror stories of how teachers were, and I was freaking spoiled by them. Like, I had they were just so great support system. Like, they supported me in everything. Like, I was in this club, which was a big deal, and I remember Sunshine said, I'm gonna come to your, because we had this puppet show that we were in, and I had a role, and Sunshine thought this was such a big deal that she actually said, I want to come to your performance. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay. I'm like, I wasn't expecting her to come, but she came. And the next day I come into her room, and she has this little bag. Oh God, I'm gonna get emotional again. She has this little bag, and it had it's either a necklace or a bracelet, because I think I got a bracelet and a necklace from her at some point or another, but I had a little special gift from her, and this card, without going into details, said how proud I am of you and how this was such a big deal. And it just meant so much to me that she came. And then even I was in the same club junior and senior year, so when Sparkle got wind that I was in this thing, she thought it was a big deal. She's like, when's your performance? Because I want to come and see this. No, I'm gonna come and see this. And I'm like, well, don't come the second performance, because I'm not even in that one. Come when I have the big starring role. And she came, and it's like I always have this fear, like, of because what's happened in the past, and this doesn't have anything to do with my teachers or anything, but when I would try to make friends, and they would often say, oh, let's go do this, and then they would cancel, or they'd leave me there, and I'm sitting there waiting. So I thought, when they said, oh, I'm gonna come see your performance, I thought, oh, they're not really gonna come. So she did, and I was like, oh my God, she was so proud. And on a quick note, I did that performance. I had sprained my ankle the day before, so I'm on that performance of hand puppet, standing on crutches, doing that. So give myself extra bonus points for that. So yeah, and I was very, like I mentioned, I was very sad about graduating, because I would lose that. And I said my goodbyes to them. And what was interesting is that the seniors had they had their finals a week before the rest of the school did. So technically the last week of school I didn't need to attend, but I wanted that extra time with them, especially with Sunshine. I wanted that extra time with them. So I may have had one final that I needed to finish that I didn't finish the week prior. So but I still was in her room, and I don't remember if she had other people doing finals or what, but whether she did or not, I wanted that time with her, because it was so hard for me to leave. But what I found is that that the relationships kind of evolved. Like, it's not like I graduated 10 years ago. I don't have the student teacher relationship anymore. Like, it's evolved into this brand new thing. Like, they spend all of them have spent a long time with me trying to make friends and try to go that extra step to see that other people your age might want to be your friend. That wasn't the case because nobody wanted to. And you're not supposed to be friends with your teachers, but I'm going to just say it. My teachers, Sunshine, Care Bear, and Sparkle, they were my best friends. And I literally didn't have anybody else. And they were my friends. So, it wasn't, and sometimes I had to remember that this is a teacher-student relationship, and now that I graduated, like, I've kept in contact with all of them. I mean, Sunshine, I've always kept in contact with. I haven't actually seen her in person in a long time, but we've just started to we've always like emailed back and forth, but now we just started to FaceTime and everything again. And I lost touch with Care Bear for a while, but we just got back in touch. And Sparkle came up with this idea to still write notes back to each other by mailing each other. So we're still writing letters, which I think is freaking cool. But I still do that and everything. But our relationships evolved. I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago. And I've grown up a lot since then, and I have them to thank for that, for helping me grow as an individual and becoming who I am today. Like, I'm about to graduate college and everything. I'm definitely more mature than I was in high school, and they're no longer my teachers. Like, I definitely look up to them and respect them as mentors and everything, but they're definitely very good friends of mine. And like, I remember having a conversation with Sunshine, not too recently, but I remember having a conversation with Sunshine about how I've seriously tried to make friends with people my own age, but I get along with people, and I get along with everybody, so I shouldn't really word it like that, but I find that most people that are like 20, 30 years older than me, they're more accepting and understanding for me. And she made me realize that it's okay to have those relationships. Like, don't surround yourself with people that don't like you or bully you or don't respect you. Like, it's okay to be friends with people that are older than you. And yeah, I've definitely tried to make friends with people my own age with the skills that they all taught me, but it hasn't worked out. So I thought, is it weird that I'm more friends with people that I'm older with? But I found that they're more accepting, and they're more likely to go the extra mile with you. I found that, like, in the workplace and outside, that I have to, it's taken me a while to learn to accept that I'm never going to have friends my own age, but I do have friends that are older than me, and it's okay. Yeah, so that's that. Like I mentioned, they're all very great. I feel very honored and a privilege that they were my teachers and everything, that I was their student. They definitely took the time to help me with my anxiety. Like, I'll always have anxiety, but they helped me cope with it. And like I said, they made me feel special, and I feel like I felt like I had a place in the world. Like, I had a place where I belonged, and they're always my number one cheerleaders. It's funny to think about cheerleaders. Like, I remember when I had those stupid IEP meetings, like I would always cry the sunshine, like, why do I have to go? This is so stupid. Why do I have to go? People are just gonna judge me. And senior year, she actually semi-bribed me to go. She was like, do you want Sparkle to go to your meeting? Because I can ask her. She'll go to your meeting. I'm like, would that make you feel better? I'm like, yes. So she got Sparkle to come. And the thing was about my IEP meetings is that I always left. I always felt so overwhelmed. And they were always there to support me, but I always felt like they were judging me because you always had those lists of comments that the teachers made about how you're doing in class and everything. I always felt, oh my god, the bad stuff's gonna come out. And I said, Sunshine always said, you know, if you feel more comfortable, you could sit next to me. And I did. So I said, can I sit next to you and Sparkle during the meeting? And she's like, sure, yes. If it gets you to stay in the meeting the whole time and gets you to go to the meeting, yes, you could sit next. So I purposely sat in the middle of them. I had Sunshine to my left, Sparkle to my right. And that was the best IEP experience I've had. They were all horrible, but it was better. I remember at one point looking at Sunshine like, oh my god, I want to leave. And she's like, it's okay. Take a deep breath. And then I remember I still kind of have this thing where if I'm very nervous, my hands will flap, or I'll start scratching my hands because I'm so nervous. And I think it was like toward the beginning or to the beginning middle part of the meeting, and Sparkle noticed I was scratching my hands, so she grabbed one of my hands to stop me from scratching, but also to like comfort me. And she was like, would say what I'm struggling with, but then also would say how great I'm doing in her class. And what's funny about looking at it today is that I literally looked at this the other day, and you have one teacher who wrote literally a sentence. You get to Sparkles, and it's literally this whole like almost 2-page thing. I'm like, oh my god, I'm in trouble, aren't I? And it's like, no, I wasn't in trouble. It's just that it was noted that I don't like to do group work. And it's like, that's the understatement of the century. Because if the words Sunshine and Sparkle are not in the group work, I want nothing to do with it. So it was all true, but I'm like, oh my god, I'm in trouble, aren't I? And she re-insisted, like, no, you're not in trouble. No, you're not in trouble. But yeah, I had so much good times with them, and I feel sad that that some people may not be able to have them as a teacher. I know 2 of them are no longer a teacher. I'm not sure if one of them is still a teacher or not, but it makes me sad in a way that not everybody will get to have them as a teacher or will have the same experience as I did. And I think not everybody will, because I think what I had was a very unique experience that not everybody gets to have. So I feel very lucky in a way. But I see so many people struggle with teachers, and some are genuinely horrible. Like, some set you up to fail and everything, but these teachers set me up for success, and I just have so much to thank for them. Like, I could literally make another video just thanking them. And it is awesome. I'm definitely going to send this to them, so they'll probably be watching this. So I'm just going to take a minute I'm going to narrow it down a bit. But I definitely want to thank Care Bear for giving me the skills I needed to learn that I didn't know about, but that I learned in the workplace, and gave me many opportunities to succeed, and for having your door always open, and for letting me for doing volunteer work with you in the summertime. It really meant a lot. For Sparkle, you definitely put up with a lot. Like I said, I definitely gave you a run for your money, but you're definitely very, very special to me. I've never had a perfect teacher like you, and I probably never will again. But I want to thank you for always being so patient and understanding and accepting me for who I am, and for making me feel special and making me feel smart and making me feel kind of empowered. Like, making me, not making me, I shouldn't say making me, but giving me skills I need to start to learn, not to learn myself, to love myself. And I always thought that was selfish to love yourself, but just to accept myself for who I am, and for always being a big support for me and supporting me in everything I wanted to accomplish, for taking the extra time to help me learn different things, and for helping me with my reading and renewing my love for reading and everything. And just by being you and your sparkly self. And Sunshine, oh my god, Sunshine, I literally can make a separate video thanking you, but you are an amazing person. And I had many, many, many dark days, but you always were the bright light into my dark, cloudy days. And you were the first person to accept me for who I am, and to show me that unconditional type of love, like, always made me feel special. You're always somebody that I could come to with a problem, or if I needed advice. And I am forever grateful for what you have done for me, and I will never ever forget that. And I hope we still continue to keep in touch today, and I hope I look forward to our ever evolving relationships, and see where I go from here. And a lot of my success today I have to thank them for, because if I didn't have Sunshine, Sparkle, or Care Bear in my life, I definitely would not be alive today, because I went through so much mentally, and I was such a mental case that if I didn't have them and they didn't give me the coping skills, or just basically didn't have that in my life, I definitely would not be alive today. So I definitely have them to thank for that, for just me being alive, and for everything that they've taught me. Like, I'm amazed, like, how much I've matured, and I'm in college now, and I still struggle in the same stuff, like math and reading and stuff, but I'm able to get through it. Like, I'm able to advocate for myself more, which Care Bear and Sunshine spent a while trying to get me to advocate for myself and stand up for myself. But I've definitely become Sparkle's mini-me, and I've learned a lot of the skills that I didn't even realize until I've actually done, like, the schoolwork and everything. That, like, wow, Sparkle told me how to do this. And I noticed, like, oh, I'm doing this thing that Sparkle used to do, and I'm like, wow, I'm even I don't know if you count reading and writing as the same thing, but it's like, wow, I'm going into, like, the writing career path. It's like, oh my god, Sparkle's gonna be so proud. It's like I'm her mini-me. So yeah, definitely, to wrap up the video here, my advice would be to now, I don't think, not everyone's gonna have the same experience I did, but definitely the teachers make or break. They definitely make the difference of a successful student and a student that is unsuccessful. And definitely find that teacher that will go the extra mile and is willing to help you. And you may not be so open at first, but give them a chance to show you what you're capable of and what your potential is. And those are the teachers that are going to make an everlasting impact on your life and is going to make you succeed not only in school but in life. So I hope you guys enjoyed my I Have Autism teachers video. I hope people that watch this could take what they learned from my video and maybe try to find that support system that I had. And if you guys are watching this, Sunshine, Care Bear, and Sparkle, thanks a bunch. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. And until next time, stay regal.